Here we are. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. Eric, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Libby?
Good. We survived Thanksgiving. I don't know if you had marshmallow covered anything or whatever, but we survived. Welcome to A Matter of Life and Dex. We're so excited that everyone is here. Eric, we have a very special guest with us today. First of all, Eric, who are we? I'm Libby Magliolo, and I help people build better presentations. Eric, who are you?
I'm Eric Harris. I also help people build better presentations through storytelling. And we are so excited today to welcome Jeff Begert, who is a guest who really doesn't need an introduction. In fact, he's usually the one making the introductions. I really could not be happier that you're joining us, Jeff. I've had the privilege of working with you in multiple places, in multiple roles through the years. A couple of them that stand out that I just want to address real quick. In 2005, we were the art director and account executive at an ad agency, and we were constantly pitching ideas for Pizza Hut to clients, helping them see the value in the work that we were doing. And then most recently, we were partners in an employment branding firm, and we were going to a lot of sales meetings together and pitching the value of working with our agency. So we weren't as much selling the ideas as we were selling services. So I've had the experience of riding shotgun with you on a lot of different sales calls, and those are all stories for another day. But in addition to being a colleague, Jeff is a dear friend, a person of strong values, someone I respect tremendously. And we just want to get to know a little more about you. So can you tell us today, what are you working on?
What am I working on? I'm working right now on something called Spark 5, which is a digital asset management. And I'm thrilled to be working on that, but I'm really, really thrilled to be with you both. Eric, that was a great intro. Most of it was BS, and I totally appreciate it. I have a fun story about 2005 when we were pitching something. Eric came up with triple pepperoni. Yeah, that was 3 different styles of pepperoni on a pizza, and that was
Eric,
Eric's
that was
idea.
you?
Yeah.
We owe you a debt of gratitude.
Everyone knows. Everyone knows.
You're welcome, world. You are welcome.
And then you got dethroned by the person who came up with quadruple roni. But for a time, you were the reigning roni king.
It's like pizza's like razor blades. You can always just add more.
One more.
It's like 6 blades. Well, 6 pepperonis.
Seven.
Why not?
Yeah.
2005, triple roni, a simpler time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Triple running back then. Yeah, that was great. But no, all kidding aside, I'm thrilled to be here. This is cool. I do like what you're both doing, and I know that I am going to speak for all these people in my office, which is me. I need to be better at presentations, and so in preparing for this and also doing some research on what both of you do. I look forward to asking you guys some questions too, because everybody needs help selling. I mean, they really do, because no matter who you are, you're selling something. Like even doctors are selling services, which is crazy to me. They're actually helping people. They're not doing stuff like there's a bit of a direct digression there. Thrilled to be here. Look forward to talking more about connecting with the audiences and talking about how to sell and how to better sell and how to use presentations to kind of move people.
Well, let's do it then. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the difference. And I'm curious, especially about how you've made the transitions throughout your career from selling creative ideas to selling services and now selling software as a service. What are some of the differences in the approach in those 3 territories? How have you seen that manifest?
Well, I'm going to probably just hone in on services and software, right? So traditionally you think of selling services is that you're selling ideas. You're selling ideas and how to get there. And then with software, with Spark 5, you think Spark 5 is a digital asset management. What we think that we're selling is outcomes, right? You think we're selling this gets you here. I believe that's true, but I also believe that there's something that ties them together, and that is that I'm selling an idea when I'm selling software. That idea is that I can relieve pain, or that idea is that you can get something back. That idea is that emotional response that you guys are helping train people when they're selling a big pitch for Yum Brands or anything like that. Because really, if you're selling software, you're selling something that is, hey, I'm trying to get to Erictopia. What is your utopia? I've got this pain. I've got this pain. And in 6 months, if that pain is relieved, I'm in Erictopia. And so this morning I was talking to somebody and I said, what's it look like in 6 months? What's success look like in 6 months? Her name was Annalise. What's Annalise-topia? Doesn't roll off the tongue. And she was like, I would get almost, I was like 3-5 hours a week back. Like, instead of searching, finding, stopping what you're doing to try and support this distributed workforce, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I was like, what would you do with 3 to 5 hours back a week? And she said, like, something really human. She said, like, I'd go to lunch. I'd go home, like, before 7. And right then and there, the salesperson in me was like, got her. But like the human in me was like, damn, like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, then let's do that. Let's do that. So like, this emotion leads to an outcome, and it's getting there, which is selling the idea. So that's how that works together. Another added benefit of this from selling services to software. So going from an ad agency and selling alongside of you, or actually just kind of listening to you, and then selling software, is that like I'm kind of talking to the same people. I'm talking to marketers, I'm talking to communication people, I'm talking to salespeople, and so I've been in their shoes, and so I can use the little empathy that I have to say, hey, anecdotally, I know how much it sucks to be having to go through the server system and the folders and find something, or to be that 28-year-old person that gets the requests from the field that says, I need this now. And you're like, but wait, I've got all of this to do. No, I'll do what you need to do right now. So, like to try and tie a bow on it, yeah, I'm selling outcomes, but I'm using some of the same methods, and that's moving people with an idea of an emotional connection to get to that outcome.
Yeah, and I think that's so helpful. I'm trying to think of the last time I was being sold a service or sold a software, and I can very clearly remember the call starts, we exchange names, and then 30 seconds later, a salesperson is sharing their screen. Let me show you this dashboard. Let me show you this dashboard. Once we go into the back end, and I'm lost from 30 seconds in because I don't understand what I'm looking at, and I don't understand how it connects to what I do and what I need. So how do you get people out of that motion? I think it's true for software sales. I think it's also very universally true that we think about, okay, I'm just going to tell everyone the amazing features and they're just going to see it and they're going to get it. So how do you get people out of that muscle of, hey, here's all the cool features, and instead do what you talked about, which is tap into the empathy, tap into the outcome? How would you think about making that shift?
Great question. I think that what I have to work really, really hard is to remember that I'm in this software every day and I know everything awesome that it does. And I'm talking to a prospect, which by the time they're getting to me, they're a warm lead. So they have interest and / intent. And so if I were coaching someone, I would say to them, hey, if you have 30 minutes with Libby and she's asking about how can I get off of Dropbox and onto a digital asset management so I can use AI to serve, then you do your research about what Libby does at SlideMaster, and you try and understand where she's coming from. You don't assume anything. You cannot assume you know what Libby's pain point is. You have an idea. You have an idea because she wouldn't be coming to you if she didn't want to, but you have an idea, but you can't assume. So what you do is you say, if we have 30 minutes, try and get Libby to talk for at least half of them.
Mm-hmm.
Try and get her to go, here's where we are. Here's where I'd like to be. Here's what's bothering me with where we are. Here's how I think I can fix it. And all of a sudden, you're listening to Libby, and you do what I have written, and I think, I like to think I do it okay on my sales things, but I probably don't, is you ask the question, then you shut up and listen and write down notes.
Okay.
And so Libby, long-winded way of saying, how do you get somebody else from not dumping in? Your software is the frame of a home. It's not like when you're showing off your house, you're not going, oh, here we are. Blah, 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 blah. No, you're trying to say your software is but what holds it up.
Mm-hmm.
It's an integral part of it. It's an integral part of it. But the first 15 or 20 seconds, 20 minutes of this call, you should be asking questions, listening, and trying to get a human connection so you can form that empathy. So you're not, a friend of mine called it feature dumping. You're not just dumping all your features up there. Don't do that. Don't do that, because what you're not doing is you're not addressing the problem that Libby was trying to tell you she had.
Right. Right. And Eric, I know this connects to what I've seen you teach about, which is we haven't really earned the right to sell yet, that people don't show up in immediate buying mode. And so trying to sell immediately to someone who's not in buying mode is very counterproductive. And so it reminds me of that. We can't just sell because people aren't coming to us in an immediate buying mood. We have to earn that right, and we have to make that connection first.
We do, and we refer to that as lanyard man. So the young man who shows up on your doorstep wearing a lanyard, carrying a clipboard, interrupting you from your rest, your peace, your daily life. You are not at all thinking about saving money on your Wi-Fi bill or investing in a digital asset management tool, right? So it's those cold, connections that are not based in my real pain points. I just don't answer the door. I'm not interested. I'm not in a buying mindset. But Jeff, the way you're talking about it, it's more about the after state mindset. It's the beautiful world in the future that I can imagine myself living in as a result of saying yes to you today, right?
Yeah. And I'd go further and say, I'd go back actually and say, hey, if you don't understand your audience, to pull from the campfire method, if you don't understand your audience and where they are, then you might as well be spitting into the ocean.
Right. You might as well be lanyard man.
I love that. I love that classic rock hit, lanyard man. It's one of my
worst superhero in all of Marvel.
Do you remember that from Whose Line Is It Anyway? That they would do, one of the games was terrible superheroes. And so, thank God you're here, lanyard man would fit very nicely into that. At a simpler time, it's triple roading time. So Jeff, we talk about, Eric and I are on different sides of the presentation debate. I teach how to build a presentation around visuals, and Eric teaches storytelling frameworks that don't lean on visuals, but I imagine that when you're selling software, there's a big visual component to it. So how do you use sharing your screen or slides, or how do you integrate that into sales calls in a way that's productive but not a crutch? What's your philosophy on that?
My philosophy is definitely that you don't get to see our software. If it's a 30-minute meeting, you don't get to see our software until after the first 20 minutes.
Okay.
And if you want to, I know that this is probably not going to have a second date. You know what I mean? Like, I'm using that, I'll use that metaphor of I'm dating this person and they're dating me. It's not just it can't be transactional, because if I just open up my software and say, look at the cool stuff we have, I'm not understanding my audience, trying to achieve their goals by reducing the pain points. And so we talk about not showing a demo, but for the last 7 minutes, because we agenda. I mean, we itemize. We like to run an agenda. We do 30-minute meetings. We take a discovery call and a demo call, and we smush them together. And we do that by design, because our digital asset management software is supposed to help you be more efficient and help you save time. If the sales process is inefficient and time consuming, we've already screwed up.
Oh, that's amazing. So the sale is like a sample. The sale is a sample of the engagement. It is living proof that we deliver on our promises, and you deliberately construct it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And also, I know that business on the first call. I mean, I don't. It hasn't happened yet. How about that? and so,
Fingers crossed.
yeah, well, right. One of these days. So if you take 20 minutes, or really about 15 minutes, 2 minutes of idle chat, a little bit about us, but really I'm asking questions about Libby and SlideMaster and what her pain is and where she wants to go. And I listen and I write down the answers. And then I ask questions based on the answers, because then I'm getting to it. I then repeat back to her the top 3 things that she wants to solve. And then I open up my screen and I say, hey, Libby, remember when you said that you wanted to be able to find product spec docs really quickly, even if they're in CSV files, PDFs, or Excel? Watch this.
Yeah.
And I show that to her.
Yeah. I love that.
And then I check on the second. And I say, hey, Libby, remember when you wanted to organize brand assets in a way that logos are in a file, fonts are in a file, this are in a file, and you want to make sure that sales team can only access this file. They can't have access to anything. Here's how we do usage rights, because Libby said usage rights. Okay, I did this, right. And so I'm showing the software, and it's like an ice cream. You go to an ice cream shop, you're like, ooh, I'd like to try that. You get a little taster. So I'm going to give you a little taster, and you get it, and then you go, oh, I want to buy that.
Right.
There's another old metaphor, but I'm not going to use that one.
Like ice cream is great. You mentioned usage rights a second ago, and we were chatting before this. One of the things that I work constantly with my students on is getting rid of jargon in their presentations, because it's very possible that everyone in the audience knows every single term that they're using. It's more possible that there's somebody who's new at the company, somebody who's from outside the industry, who, when you use an acronym or when you use a term that they don't know, you've alienated them very early in the presentation. So can you talk to us about, if I say, because digital asset management, I imagine, is a term that most people don't naturally use. And so can you talk to us about how maybe, especially in the software world, it's so important to mirror your prospects or clients' language to where they feel included in the conversation?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head right there. And what that does also is that simplifies the conversation. If I use the words like this morning, where I heard usage rights when they were talking about what I would describe as roles and permissions. Well, guess what? It was a lot easier for me to say usage rights, because that's what Annalise was focused on.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am able to mirror her words and mirror her conversation, and then just say, oh, okay, that's a subtle shift in how I need to think about who I'm talking to and what pain it solves for her. And I think it's super duper important, because again, it goes back to what good sellers and of anything, what they're good at is listening. Because in reality, everybody wants to talk about themselves or their successes or their challenges. And so if you get on, like, I mean, case in point, if you get on this and you tell me, hey, tell me about how this is great, I'm gonna go, oh, great. And that's awesome. And if I get on a sales call and some person says, I'm having this problem, and I hear the problems and I write down the language that she's using, and then I use it back to her, she or he feels heard.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
when you feel heard, you get a connection.
Mm-hmm.
And like, as much as people don't get, like, vibes matter. Like, they straight up, they matter. Like, yeah, follow-ups and yeah, being professional and having, price, budget, but like vibes, they play a part in it.
And I think it's such an important signal, because it signals that, oh, this person is actually listening, and people make assumptions about that behavior and what that means about that person and what that means about the business relationship. And so it's a small thing that I think communicates a lot. So yes, agreed, vibes matter, but I think it's indicative of, hey, this is how this person does business. This is indicative of how the relationship will go. They're not trying to use their terminology and be superior. It's very odd, but I've heard the feedback before of, we kind of like using terms that we know the client doesn't understand, because it makes them know that we know something that they don't. And I understand. I understand the intention behind that, but it's incredibly alienating to anyone. And nobody wants to do business with someone who wants to feel superior and is coming into a conversation like that. It's incredibly alienating and condescending. And so I think there's a lot of power to mirroring language. And I think that's a very actionable tip that folks can take away of next time you're in any kind of conversation, not just a sales conversation. If someone uses certain jargon, mirroring that jargon back to them is a really helpful way to show that you're listening and you're tuned into the conversation. So I love that. I love that tip. I think that's super helpful.
It makes it simple. Yeah. Like it does. It simplifies things.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Because
you're using a shared language.
Yeah, you're shooting a shared language, because if I have to explain what something is, it's like, it's that joke that I tell my children. If you have to explain the joke, it's not funny.
Oh, you've told me that so many times, Jeff.
God, Eric,
just like Eric, one of your children.
You should take a really hard look at yourself as a result of that, Eric. I mean, I don't know. Like, yes, while you are the king of pepperoni, but if there are too many dad jokes, we may need to look ourselves in the mirror in a really big way. But not at all what we're here to talk about. I can't believe you're.
But we're good. We've got 7. We're good.
Okay, so we've spent a lot of our time talking about what success looks like for the buyer, right? Which really is kind of the theme of the way you approach sales presentations, is defining and getting into the shoes of the buyer and establishing that empathy and understanding the world from his or her point of view. What does success look like for you? Like, other than converting a prospect to a customer, how would you describe your 100 of 100, like all systems go, all pistons firing sales meeting? What needs to happen for you to call it a success?
I think that I would not even call it a meeting. I'd call it a conversation. That's when you know that you're not in Erictopia, but you're dang close, because that means when you have a conversation, that means that it is a give and take. That means that it was honest. There was a back and forth through honesty. There was real listening. And what it does is it makes both parties think. And then also, I mean, I leave there going, oh, they felt like I felt. That was worth our time. And I'm not saying that's because my time is so valuable. I'm just saying that you can understand that, oh, we might be useful to this person in the future, whether it be through our product, through our recommendation, or through our connection, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And do you feel like you get feedback from those sales presentations where when it is more conversational, it feels like more of a success on their part too?
100%. And I will tell you that we have a lot of success when we run up into a long conversation and a short demo, and then I say, here's a trial account, go play on your own, and the conversion rates go up.
That's interesting. That's very
That's
interesting.
really interesting. Yeah.
Go
Jeff,
ahead, Lou.
You gave us a great question earlier of, what does Jefftopia look like in 6 months? And I love the actionable tip of mirroring somebody's language. Do you have another question that comes to mind, something open-ended that gets people talking, that is kind of a go-to question for you in a sales type conversation that gets people to dig into what their problem is and what their pain points are and gets them talking? Do you have anything that comes to mind?
It's less of a question. It's more in kind of being in their shoes and being able to anecdotally wallow, right? I mean, it's because I try real hard not to stick to my script, because if I stick to my script, I'm not listening. And so to get them talking about something, you do the basic things of, what are you using now? What is wrong with it? Oh, and then give me an instance of how the workflow is impacted. When you start talking about people's workflows, then they start to kind of go, oh my gosh, well, this sucks. And I can wallow in that because my workflow was impacted at one point because I was in their shoes. And so it's less of a, here's my silver bullet. It's more of the framework that I would use is, when you find that pain point that you can empathize with as someone in that sales position, make sure that you kind of capture that. Make sure that you dig on it. And it comes in all different forms. It really does, because sometimes I'm meeting with IT people, and sometimes I'm meeting with sales people, and sometimes I'm meeting with marketing people, and sometimes with ops. And so I can't say, hey, here's the end all be all question. I can say, have your list of questions, because you've done your research and you know what you're going to do and you know where these people are, but don't be afraid to look at your answers, look at their answers and say, oh, okay, I've been there. Let's talk about how we can make that better, because it sucks right now.
Yeah, I love that. And we all have a bunch of hats from our past. And so if I'm talking to someone from sales ops, well, I've been in sales ops, and oh my gosh, I hated when that happened too. And I've been in learning and development, and I've been in corporate strategy. And so I can say, oh my gosh, I hate when that happens. And when I'm in a sales conversation, I love hearing the words I hate, or my pet peeve is, oh, I hate it when people do this, because then you're getting to, ooh, this is the pain. This is something that they would love to solve. So I love hearing that. Eric, it wouldn't be a full episode of A Matter of Life and Dex if you didn't ask your fave question to Jeff.
Jeff,
hold on, stop. Before you ask that stupid question, no, you can't do that, Libby. You can't do that, Libby. I've known him for 20 years. No, I know music or drumming or something to where I'm going to be like, oh, no, Eric, and I'm going to say some off-the-wall answer that's going to make you laugh and it's going to make me laugh, and it's an inside joke, and the 6 people that are watching this are going to be like, those guys are nerds. So I want to ask y'all a question.
Oh, okay, great. I love it.
So, okay. We have a minute. You both get 30 seconds. So I want you to look back and I want you to look forward. So look back. 2025. Y'all have done a lot of these. You've helped a lot of people with their presentations. What's the one thing that stuck out that you're like, oh, this is a trend. I'm seeing a trend.
Mine is that information is cheap, but a story is harder to get to, but a story is what people want. AI has made it that information is very, very easy to come by, but curation is what people are looking for. They're looking for you to do the work of digging through the information and telling an audience tailored story. Information is so cheap. I can get information. What I need is someone with a great brain to look at that information and give the story to me in a way that's impactful for me. So that's mine. Eric. What do you think?
So very similar across the board. Our clients are asking for help with codifying and communicating the story of the value this company provides to blank. And that blank might be prospects in a pitch. It might be existing customers in organic growth. It might be employees for recruitment marketing or whatever the case might be. But regardless, that's the theme. And it's not just arriving at the story, it's aligning people to the story. And in fact, that is actually my answer for the look ahead too, because I don't see that changing for 2026 very much in a world where information is getting cheaper and more accessible, but the human element is a lot harder to come by.
Awesome. Great.
There. We did.
We
Jeff,
did it.
thank you so much for joining us. We
Yeah.
really appreciate it. I want to plug something very quickly. Eric and I have a webinar coming up in February about storytelling for sales conversations, and not only how to bring a successful sales storytelling framework into your next sales conversation, but also how to be able to pair visuals with that don't steal the show, but help support you in your sales journey. So if you want more info about that, just drop the word webinar in the comments and we'll get you all the info for that. Jeff, thank you again for your time. We really appreciate you joining. And thanks to everyone who joined today. Everyone have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks for having me.
Bye,
This has been
everybody.
great.
See
Bye-bye.
y'all.